Now let's take a look at what Valogix looks like on the cloud. Alright, what I've done is I've just logged into our software. It's a web-based system exactly like NetSuite. So, what's nice about having Valogix in the web is you can navigate in between tabs between NetSuite and Valogix, and so it'd be really easy to flip back and forth between systems. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk you through in a day in the life of a typical planner, what a planner, person that's responsible for replenishing, is going to do as soon as they come into the office, typically every day. The first thing, as a planner, I log into my system. I see a couple of alerts. One of the alerts that it's going to highlight are some impending stockouts. So if you've got any items that we forecast that you're going to be short given the lead time, and you might need to expedite, may need to call the supplier and see if you can expedite a shipment to make sure you can meet your service level targets, we highlight them here. If you've got any existing back orders from customers that are demanding inventory that you just don't have, we also highlight it there. So as soon as you log into our system, we have a number of exception reports to help you follow up to focus on your customers to improve your customer service. So all you need to do to follow up is to select a particular action item, click on the item, it highlights and sorts by severity of the shortage risk all the problem items that you might have. So when you're ready to take action, you can drill on each individual item, see exactly what's going on with a particular item, seeing what the problems are, call up the suppliers, maybe call the customers, and take action on the potential issues. It's really, really that simple. Now let's walk through a typical replenishment plan. So what's the next thing that a buyer does when they come into the office? They typically will have a certain group of items that they're going to look at on a certain day. So as soon as they finish taking care of all the fires, they come into a typical replenishment plan and they select the group of items they want to replenish. So once they select the group of the items they want to replenish, they can view all the shortages for today. These are all the recommendations of everything they need to buy or transfer today between locations. So this is essentially the replenishment plan. On this particular report, let's say on every Friday, they come in and they replenish supplier V1010. They come in here and they can filter the report out by that particular supplier, and it tells them all the shortages for that particular supplier. So within a single click, we now have a recommended purchase order for one particular supplier. What I can do now is, now that I'm in our system, I could select any of these items, or I can select them all. I could submit it. Once I submit it, it automatically in real time sends that data right back into NetSuite as a open purchase order. And right on your reminder, you can drill into that purchase order and finish the purchase order and submit it to the supplier. So within seconds, literally within seconds, you can have your purchase order started and gone through approval cycles internally. What I've just showed you in terms of just coming in, selecting all, and submitting doesn't typically happen in terms of creating a new purchase order, because it's real money, right? These are real products. So what people typically do when they're creating a new purchase is they want to have some relevant information. So they know if the system is recommending to purchase 412, this 412 quantity is actually reasonable, right? What's great about our technology is that within one click, they can have access to all the data that they need to know exactly how we've come up with those numbers. So right now I'm looking at item A0004 at warehouse 1. I can see that the system is recommending a quantity of 412 to be purchased. We have 1,035 on hand. We've got another 225 on order. We've got some back order of 25 units. We have an optimal stocking level of 1,500 units to cover a 30-day lead time and a 6-day review period. We can see that today we're getting into May, and we can see that we still are in the busy season. Given our stock levels, this number actually does make a lot of sense. So by looking at all this data, I don't have to switch between screens. I have all that data real quick, accessible to me. Now, if I also want to look at the availability across my network, within another click, I can see what my on-hand balances are across my network. So instead of creating a new purchase order for this quantity, maybe I want to look to see if there's any excess inventory at another location. Again, with just a single click, I'd have visibility of my network balances. It's especially helpful if you've got multiple locations. Another big limitation that we found within a lot of planning systems is not being able to understand or have visibility of all the open documents before creating a new replenishment. And that causes a lot of people to double purchase inventory, which I'm sure probably happens in your business, where you create a purchase order one day, the following week you duplicated the purchase order, maybe because it was late and your report didn't catch it. Things of that happen. So what's great about our technology is we allow you to track all the open documents, whether it's an in and out of the inventory. If it's a purchase order, we allow you to see all the open purchase orders and exactly when it was due to be delivered. So you have an available to promise in terms of a replenishment plan. You have open sales orders, maybe that are back ordered. You can even see the upcoming forecast going forward, the planning horizon. And if there's a configuration option to consume that forecast, we'd be able to see the outs of the inventory if you actually consume that forecast. So you can see the ins and outs of your inventory right on the same replenishment plan. Another thing that's extremely helpful is to understand the science behind what's going on in Valogix, to understand exactly how we've come up with that ideal stocking level. So for example, the system is suggesting that the ideal stocking level, what NetSuite would refer as the preferred stocking level, as 1,546 units. What we do is we're actually showing the statistics going on behind the scenes of how we've come up with that number. So we know, according to statistical probability, that the system is going to suggest that they carry 1,546 units at over 99% service level. So we've already created a lot of buffer stock in order to meet the target level of service. Now let's say, for example, that on this particular report we want to reduce the size of the order. But we want to know, okay, well, how much can we reduce this order? If I want to drop the order a few hundred units because I'm limited on my cash flow, I want to know how that's going to affect my service levels. What I can do on this particular view is I can say, okay, well, if I want to be at a 90% service level or an 89% service level, if I want to reduce my service level on that particular item by 10%, I know that I can reduce my stocking level from 1,546 units down to 1,212 units, which means I can probably reduce the size of the order by about 300 units and still maintain a 90% fill rate on that particular item. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and close this out, and I can say, you know what? I'm not going to buy 412 units. I'm only going to buy maybe 100 units on this particular order. And when I'm ready to submit it, I can go ahead and submit it, and the workflow is created. So as you can see, you've got a lot of relevant information to help you make the best purchase. And you got it all together in one view. You don't have to click around to try to find out all the information you need. So that's basically the day in the life. So because we make it so simple, because we provide the relevant information on this one screen, we've helped companies save 80 to 90% of the time it takes them to replenish their inventory. And people that would spend an entire day creating purchase orders are now spending 10 to 15 minutes a day per supplier. I mean, it's powerful. But the heart of it is coming up with a good preferred stock level, or a good, what we call SQ. Because everything else is just plus minus mathematics, right? If you have a good ideal, we then compare it against the actual. And if the ideal is reasonable, then you can automate the majority of your process.